Good day, everyone. In this presentation, we will be talking about inferential statistics. Alright, so in this video, we're going to talk about detailed announcement for LEAP, project reminders, reingress, correlation, and regression. And believe it or not, this week, for most of you, you will have officially finished Algebra 2 instruction, meaning that next week and all the way till finals, it's all review. All right, concerns and accomplishments. All right, homework has been an improvement in some classes. Not all, however. Some of you have a tendency to think whatever you do in my class is going to be enough for you to pass, but now realizing that's not going to ever be the case. Non-compliance is increasing. The main period that begin to have these issues the most is my first period class, and that's something that I'm gonna have to deal with accordingly. So just remember, you guys, remember this one basic rule. Doesn't matter what you think, what you say, what you do, just know this. I will always at the end have the upper hand, meaning that your foolishness gonna be your downfall, and I'll be able to get you at the end in regards to that. So again, when you choose not to do what I ask of you, it's gonna catch up to you, and you're gonna fail. All right. I know some of you feel you smart and you this, that, and the third, which I won't take that from you, but I failed the smartest kids too. It's simply because of that non-compliance. You have to follow my instructions, or guess what? You're going to fail the course. Alright, factoring is slightly increasing. I've been asking you guys to get your factoring skills together. I'm seeing the improvements, but it's not where I want them to be still, but we get there. Your statistical knowledge, it's increasing. It's not bad. I don't have much negative to say about that. Reasoning with mathematics, it's come a long way for some of you. Yeah, some of you could, reason pretty good. I would say my fourth block does well, seven block does well, six block does it the best. So that's one thing I do love about six block, because they just know how to present, know how to reason very, very, very well. Now, I would also say this: some in my first block class do well too in terms of that. Now, some of you are struggling hard with doing things independently. And the prime example is my 7 block class. You tend to not want to do things on your own, you want to do things in a group, which you know for a fact does not work. Alright? Selective listening is a concern. And again, that falls mainly to my first period class the most. You hear what you want to hear, and I hear what's coming out of my mouth. And again, when you choose to do that, that's going to be a problem. And again, remember this at the end. At the end, I will always have the upper hand over you. Always. Because at the end of the day, it falls to me if to decide you to pass or fail. And it always depends on what you're doing. And selective listening is going to be that thing that's going to cause you to fail the course. Reminders. All deals can be kept or taken back at any time. Some of you guys have a struggle, a tendency to misunderstand that. And you do. And that's going to, again, be your downfall. And I mainly address this, mainly in particular, to my first block class. All right? Again, I reserve the right to give exemptions or not. And there's nothing you can do about that, period. All right? So just be careful and just know any deal I gave, I could just take it away. Respect goes a long way, even when you don't feel like it. Again, this is mainly first period who I'm having these issues with because overall, everyone does well with me. My third block class have made some tremendous improvements. You know, I have no issues with them. I mean, where I ask them to fall in line, they fall in line perfectly, no issues. We do what we gotta do, get our lessons done, cover a little bit, have a good time. You know, when you're mad, there's nothing wrong with, saying what's on your mind, per se, but you gotta remember, you gotta have respect. And when we get to name calling, talking, really name calling, then it's a problem. Now, some of us, have a good rapport with me, so we have this relationship where we could talk smack and call each other all whatever names, so whatnot, because that's the kind of relationship we have. And, it's all in good fun and good spirits, and we do well with each other. But, again, if you don't have that true respect for me, I don't give it to you, and it's gonna make it, you're gonna struggle through my course. Do what's expected and asked of y'all. Fortunately, still going with my first block. When I'm telling you to do something, just do it. Don't do it when you feel like it, because it'll come. It's gonna come back on you, and you're gonna suffer through it. Conversations are to be at the end of class. Anytime you have a concern about anything, wait till class comes in, or if we slow down or do some type of task, you know. Every time you want to have a conversation, it's not me stopping what I'm doing to have a conversation with you. That's not gonna work. All right. Now, this is one next point I'm gonna bring out to everybody. Can't and will not exempt you if you are failing or barely passing. That's not gonna work. Won't. Because the deal about the 18 on the ACT, many of you guys are so fixated on just the 18, but not realizing the other details that came with it. As in the past, I told you long, long, long ago, and I reminded you throughout the year, you could still fail with the 18, even with the 21. I have failed students for that simply off compliance. However, as I've told you, I'm not one to reward you with the exemption you failed in my class. That's no way. And that's because that's a reward for what you have accomplished throughout the year. If you have not have no accomplishments, you don't have them. All right? No compliance hinders grades and void exemptions. So you have to have that respect for yours truly. No compliance is a problem. These phones, again, most of you guys do exceptionally well. Exceptionally well. And shout from my third block. Third block came a long way. Fourth block, I have no problems with them because fourth block, they are very mature about it. They come in, the phones is always up. Now, if a phone call happens, they say, "Hey, Miss Sarah, allow me to take this call." And it's not a frequent thing. And that's the one thing I love about fourth block. Sixth block, they are so well disciplined. I just love sixth block for it. Seventh block does a good job with it too. A good number of you guys in my first block do a good job with it too. So when I'm teaching, you're getting what's being taught. You're not on your phone and forget to get information. Announcements. To assist in LEAP. At prep your senior year, we were right. So that means some of the math stuff, well, most of the math stuff we're going to be doing will have an explanation piece. This week will be the end of the instruction. So this doesn't apply to every class because most of you guys are ahead. I think I got one class who's behind. May 2nd is the last day I will assign homework. The week of your LEAP US history, so you guys are taking it next Wednesday around the Wednesday of April 20th or something. You're going to take that. So during that time next week, I won't give you homework. I'll probably give you homework at the end since I know it's after Wednesday. So like I would say that before Wednesday, So I'm definitely not gonna give you homework over the weekend. That's not gonna happen. All right. You do have a statistical project, which is here now, but I'm not gonna post it just yet because I gotta teach you everything that needs to be taught so you could do it. Practice ACT offers are coming soon. So to get that ACT exemption, if you do not have an ACT score with me of 18 throughout the practice that we did through the year, for those who volunteered. Now, some of you have volunteered and did practice ACTs with me. So because you satisfied the requirement already, you already been exempt. And then, not only just that, those people who have hit the 18 or above all have good grades. So again, it does not make sense for you to have an 18 and yet you fail in class. That won't bode well for you, and you're not gonna get the benefit of it. Do better, get your grades together, and you'll be right. Again, these efforts not working. So I'm gonna be more in the chill mode. I'm not gonna really be getting you if I have to. But my eyes are watching, so be careful what you do because everything you do is recorded in that grade book, and that's just that. And again, cannot give you a grade if you flashing. Because instead of you demonstrating your mathematical skills, you're choosing to flash out. And that's not going to work. So keep that in mind, people. All right, updates on exemptions. So I changed this up a bit. You know. Now, to qualify for exemption, you have to have both a minimum score of 80. I said 75, but I want 80 because I feel that you can do that without no problem. And a score of 18. Fitting this requirement means you are part of the state average. Now, time to fess up. Giving you an 18 is not a good score at all. It's a bad score. You don't want to do that your senior year. However, it is good for your first official time. So when you're taking it officially get that score, that is good the first time around for your junior year. But if you become a senior, guess what? If you have less than 18 or 18 period, that's an issue because they want you to have 21s and above. Now, this is the one that you must know about. If your grade drops to 80%, you lose your exemption. So that means throughout this time we have left, if you got above an 80 or something like that, don't drop it, because once it drops, you lose your exemption. You must keep it together. Unofficial ACT math is on May 2nd, May 3rd. You're going to be doing that with me. And that's if you choose to do so. Okay? If you have ACT data for what you took the ACT on April 13th, in due time present it to me, so you should have it in a few weeks. So by May, you could show me and we could take care of that. All right? So, again, 80% above, but let me reiterate. The exemption can change if I need for it to be. So this is not something that's expected of me to give to you, all right? I choose to give this to you. I don't owe it to you, all right? All right, so your project is dealing with statistical analysis. Again, we have to finish, the last few lessons of Algebra 2. So you're going to be dealing with descriptive statistics, which is central tendency and dispersion. Create certain graphs. You use correlation and regression skills. All of you, all will complete this project. So that means starting next week, I believe, we will have time to commute at least 1 hour a week to do this. Now, I know this project is going to sound like it's a lot, but it's not going to be much. 10 pages. And here's the reason why it's 10 pages. It's 10 pages because with the graphs that you're going to create and the statistical explanations, you will be able to get your information done, in no time. Academic integrity is a must. Yeah, one thing that I am proud about that I've been trying to break away from you is to achieve, because when you guys started the year, it was a lot of academic dishonesty that took place, but throughout the year, it has decreased. So that's a good thing. But make sure you keep up with the academic integrity. The due date, I have set for May 6th, 7 a.m. to qualify for full credit. However, because I have not yet finished everything, I may move it back. Again, everybody has to finish it, even your exemptions. All right? All right, ring graphs. So, in the lesson before, most of us, we have learned the various types of graphs and how we use them, how to read them. So, the first one, and we review, is a box plot. So, a box plot summarizes data sets, such as your minimum scores, your lower quartile, median, and upper quartile. And I'm not going to read this through you guys. I'm going to let you guys read this and do this yourself. All right? All right. Maximum score and interquartile range. Now, I will talk about the interquartile range, or the RQR. The box plots show the middle and the 25 and 75. I'm going to show you all of that. Review. Remember, central tendency is how the data is centered. So mode mean median. That's your central tendency. Dispersion. We mentioned it very, very briefly. We didn't really talk much about it. But it's how the data is spreaded. So the standard deviation of variance is all about the spread of it. For those who are going with me in statistics, will be knowing more about this. Now, again, this is your graph. This is what we're going to create. And something your project is going to be creating this. Now listen up. Until I have finished the lesson, I gave you the detailed instructions. Guess what? cannot work on something that has not been taught to you yet. So I wouldn't recommend it, or else you're going to get some serious heat. So the quartiles. So when you're looking at the minimum, using your definition, it deals with that 25%. So that's what Q1 represent. So that bottom 25%. Your median is that second quartile. That's the what's in the middle. That's the 50%. Q3, that's the upper 25%. Or if you want to, you could use 75 if you so inclined with the percentage. But we said upper 25%. So in statistics, Q3 means the quartile of the upper 25% versus the lower 25%. All right? Outliers. Now, this is a particular detail that we have to pay attention to. An outlier is an observation that lies at abnormal distance from the values in the random sample from the data. So what this means, you're going to have an observation or a data that's far, far away from all the other pieces of data. All right? Now, observation is a piece of a number that's in your collection of data. So think back from when we did the heartbeats for those who did do them. So it's most of you guys with the exception of that one class. So, and what you see the inner quartile range from lower to upper 25 right there. So that's Q1, median Q2. So that is what your inner quartile range is. And throughout when we do the work, I'm going to teach you how to really explain what that means in real life. All right. So these pieces of data, what I need for you to do, write them down somewhere because we're going to do this in decimals. Okay? Right? All right. So now we're going to get to decimals. So the beautiful thing about decimals is it's going to be your best friend and you're going to get a lot of things done. So the first thing you're going to do is create a list. At all those numbers I told you to write down, you're going to put in those numbers exactly through decimals. All right? So you're in decimals, you're creating your list, make sure you use the brackets, and that's just that. And once you do that, you're going to get 9 elements on the list. Next, in L2, because we're going to do the central tendency first, we're going to do our mean. So we do our mean. Remember, the mean is the average. The mean is the average. So put that in decimals, it's going to give it to you. That's the beautiful thing about it. Decimals going to give you the numbers. You have to explain the numbers. Median, okay, that's the middle number. The median is 40 from that data set. And data set is the collection of data. Data set is the collection of the data. So all those numbers you see there, that is the data set. That's the collection of the whole data. Now, also, when you see the 9 elements of list, another word saying 9 elements is observation. Each of those pieces of data is called an observation. All right. Now, one thing that you have to know, decimals will never, ever, ever, ever do the mode for you. The mode is the number that occurs the most. That's for you to find out. All right. This next thing right here is called your box plot. The box plot is pretty much where you see your central tendency. So when you put this in, type in box plot and make sure that when you're doing all your statistics, put parentheses around your letter. So again, all you're doing is follow the instructions that I'm telling you to do. And yes, I will have some running in the after videos of decimals being done for you in case you're struggling to do all this. So yes, you are doing this. You have created your list. You have typed in the letter meaning for number 2. And remember, use close parentheses to let it do the statistical computations. Me then, you did that box plot. Now, you're just looking for the spread of the data. You're looking for the medians, the percentiles, and stuff like that. Now, once you put in the data like this, when it says exclude outliers, you're going to make sure that that's there so you can see the outlier. And the outlier in this data is 5. So usually outliers means, like for example, when you guys are taking tests, and say for example, one of the strongest kid is within the grades right here, but the kid who I know don't do work scored a 93. Everyone else is from a 50 to an 80. So that is called an outlier because that particular data set, that particular data or element has nothing to do with the data. It's, exaggerate the data. And that 5 exaggerates the data. So therefore, your outlier is 5. You don't have to worry about outliers like doing them because decimals will do that for you. Okay, so now we did central tendency. Now we're doing dispersions of how the data spread. So STD, that's standard deviation. And you're going to see that in statistics next year for those who are rolling with me. VAR, which is variance. How the data varies. All right. The beautiful thing about decimals, I don't know what I'm doing. The beautiful thing about decimals is that it does everything for you. So yes, you are typing this in exactly as you see it. So stats L, it gives you pretty much all the box plots data. So this is the data that you use for your box plot for you to talk about. All right. Now, if you're struggling with this, please come see me. We do some reviews. I give some more details about the project. All right, exercise. I'm need for you to now take this upon yourself, try it out, and see what you can do. Now, I'm not going to give you no answers. You're going to, see the answer for yourself. So, here's some data that's dealing with age. So, I have talked to a few of my fellow parishioners, and this is me collecting their age. I was just bored, asked them about their age, I got the data. So what you're going to do, you're going to go to decimals to find all the descriptive statistics. So that's finding the central tendency, mode mean median, and the dispersion, so standard deviation and variance. Out of that, you're going to create your graphs. Make sure that your graphs are the box plots that I have shown you. And then after that, you're going to write an analysis on it to pretty much describe the data as it pertains to real life. All right? So, see me if you need further help with this. All right, now we're dealing with inferential statistics. So we did the descriptive stuff. Now we're dealing with the relationship. This is us making inferences. And remember, inferences is taking data and making conclusions. Something that we love to do. You make conclusions for a lot of things. All right, what it is. What is inferential statistics? Inferential statistics is all about describing trends and, of course, emphasis to make important decisions. This is where people in power would do, all right? This is the stuff that I'll tell you that people make a lot of money doing. Like I told you, recently, graduated doing, with this um, analytical studies. So with me having that, I got a chance to make those kind of dollars too. But I choose to teach you guys because, to contrary to popular belief, I do want those to kind of get a taste of it because statistics, truthfully, is not being taught through the schools. And no one really don't teach you this because statistics is supposed to be taught at every grade level. But most teachers don't touch on it. Anyway, relationship is a relationship between situations. Regression, making predictions to inspire change. I have posted some videos already about regression and making those predictions. Correlation is a relationship between two variables. Correlation variables change together. Correlations, sometimes called trends. So when you hear people say the trend of this graph, blah, 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 they're talking about this. The points can make a shape like the parent functions that we did throughout the year. So your linear, quadratic, exponentials, all of that. Okay? Like you see this graph right here, that's quadratic, this is exponential, rational, linear, and this is a polynomial function. And don't be surprised if you do a regression dealing with trig. All the parent functions, if you still got that cheat sheet, that's going to come in handy. Because when you do your project, you're going to do some talking. All right. So here's what I'm talking about. So this is some data collected at Sunny Skies Farm. And you have the relationship of the age of chickens and the number of eggs they lay per week. If we look at this data, we see there's a trend. A trend that as the chicken get older, the less eggs they produce. And that is what we call, describing a relationship. Do you really need to use descriptive statistics? I would say, yeah, do it, but you can't do a descriptive statistics in this method. When you see a graph like this, descriptive statistics is not going to necessarily work for you. Now, in details, what you can do if you get a project like this and you deal with something like this, you could talk about the data for the age of the chickens or the number of eggs laid per week. You could use both of those relationships if you want to do a descriptive statistic, and that should help you out from there. And 7th period actually did well with this. They came up with the idea, so good job, 7th period. All right, so the type of correlations you have a positive correlation. That means that the two variables, they trend is they increase together. A negative correlation means that one variable tends to increase while the other decreases, like what we just did with the whole chicken age and the number of eggs. When we look at that, the trend is as the chickens get older, the less eggs they produce. And that's a negative correlation. A strong correlation means it shows a clear relationship on a scatter plot, and it pretty much forms a shape. It forms a nice, pretty little shape. Linear, quadratic, exponential. But when we start out doing regression, we're going to do linear, quadratic, and exponential. But throughout, we're going to get in more detail than all the other parent functions. A weak correlation shows a relationship on a scatter plot, but the relationship is less obvious because the points don't make a shape, they just scatter around. All right, so a strong correlation might indicate causality. So that means cause and effect. So correlation tests for a relationship between two variables. However, seeing two variables moving together does not necessarily mean we know whether one variable causes the other to occur. So we mainly just say correlation does not apply causation. For example, murder and ice cream sales. There may be a relationship there, a strong relationship, but however, that correlation doesn't necessarily mean it's a possible cause and effect. So when we do our regression stuff, we're going to be dealing with some crazy data, like for example, ice cream sales and murder rates. So, correlation coefficient. So when we're doing this in decimals, one thing that you have to realize and remember, correlation coefficient is between -1 and +1. If you have a correlation coefficient that equal 1, that means it's a perfect relationship. If it's -1, that means it's a perfect negative correlation. But if the correlation is 0, there's no correlation. So these are examples of a correlation in the linear perspective. So hear me out, if you have a correlation that is less than 0.7, less than 0.7, less than 0.7, less than 0.7, or -0.7, -0.7, it's weak. So there's not a relationship there. That means that it's more likely caused by a coincidence. And then when it's a 0, there's no relationship. Regression. Regression is a line of best fit that best represents the points on a scatter plot. So again, when you see scatter points everywhere, and when they make a shape, you could draw a line. That line is your regression line. Also, a line best fit is also called a trend line. The line is essentially a parent function we study. Remember, functions are now called models. Alright, before you could do this exercise, I implore you, make sure you have watched the Desmos video. If you have not, please, 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 watch the video so you can learn how to do it. Alright, I want you to take this data, I want you to figure out what kind of regression it is. Well, I'm going to do it for you, actually. No, not really.